We were soft. We defended really badly. That was the damning verdict of Javi Gracia after Watford won Bristol City 5 in the FA Cup third round. A little stat for you as well. Watford have won once since Javi Gracia took us to the FA Cup final in 2019. A really bad day at the office for Watford. We're going to break it down here in WD18 with Sam Yuko, myself, Jacob Coleshaw. No Charlie Cesara today. He's busy working on a Sunday night, by the way, which says the work rate of the man. I don't know if there's a football cliche for that day, but we have got football cliches, very finest. I was going to say from the Rooker ends, very finest as well, but I didn't want to upset John, didn't want to upset Geordie and Mike and the rest of the gang. DCW, an absolute pleasure to have you on the pod, mate. Thanks so much for giving up your time. How are you? How are you, mate? How you getting on?
I'm good. I'm good, lads. Yeah, good to see you both. Shame about yesterday. It was fun for 90 seconds, wasn't it? But it's, I mean, you know, look, we'll get into it, but I don't think there are probably too many fans who are too disappointed with the general outcome because, you know, obviously the focus is on the league. We're kind of used to not doing well in the cups since 2019, as you said, but a disappointing performance for sure.
Absolutely. And it makes it 10 times worse when a player gets their first hat-trick for their club. Emil Rees, Sam, with a hat-trick, his first one for Bristol City, 5-1 at Ashton Gate, eliminated from the third round. I guess the question is, could it have gone much worse yesterday, Sam? Maybe not scoring. That would have made it even worse.
Yeah. And I do think that a positive was we protected our players to an extent. I think a reason why we probably when the score ended up like that was we never really got out of first gear, and I think that there was a clear element that one eye was on the league. I mean, if we want to start with the lineups, potentially, I was surprised that Imran Loser even started the game. But we saw a rotated team, and I think if I was going to say one positive, as well as Jack Greaves' goal, is that, yeah, I still think we should go into the game next week relatively fresh against Millwall.
You say that though, Sam, and we'll get into it deep in just a second, but you mentioned Loser there, our best player. Matty Pollock played. I look at the sort of back three, if you want to call it, the Bankwood, Caben, Pollock. It wasn't exactly it was a rotated team, but there were still names on there that would make the first team on a normal occasion. Yeah,
I mean, I suppose so. And I mean, these are all talking points that we'll get onto throughout the video. But the big concern was, there was a concern as well, was that a lot of players out there would have had the chance, I think, to stake a claim to knock on the door of certain positions in the side. And most notably, that centre-back spot now that Max Elaine has gone. He scored for Man City yesterday as well, which I feel like rubs salt in the wounds as well a little bit. And I don't think either Kevin Caben or James Abankwah covered themselves in glory yesterday. I don't think Jeremy Petrie will lay a glove on Jeremy Ngakia this season based on what we saw yesterday. I know Ngakia is injured at the moment, but I think he'll persist with Abankwah at right back. And just throughout the team, I don't think anyone who is looking to start really, put a claim in, I think, to start next week.
Yeah, absolutely. We'll get into it in just a second. We'll be talking Bristol City. We'll be talking transfers. We'll have a little bit on Edoardo Bove, who looks to be coming in to London Colney and to Watford very, very shortly, judging by what we're hearing from Fabrizio Romano, amongst others. Before we do so, thanks so much for everyone who's watching live on this Sunday night. As always, a bit of housekeeping as well. And it does impact DCW. We can announce that the Mental Health World Cup will be on Saturday, the 9th of May, subject to change. That is in the terms and conditions. Subject to change, obviously, playoffs, whisper it quietly, could be one of those. But Saturday, 9th of May, if you want to get it in the diary, circle it in. We'd love to have as many people down. And also, a bit of news as well. We've already had 32 teams sign up to the tournament. It's going to be a 48-team tournament this year at Vicarage Road. So we have
48 teams.
48 teams. So get the deep heat ready. Get the masseuses on the sideline. Rookery Mike Parkin, I know he didn't play last year. He'll be up for a little massage, I'm sure, between games. There's 16 teams available. So Watford fans, if you want to get involved, and anyone actually, but we want to prioritise Watford fans, the link is in the description below. There's still space via the website at www.mentalhealthworldcup.org, and then it should take you to the Watford section. DCW, your reflections on last year. I mean, the time is flying, by the way. To think, what was that, 8 months on? From that at the Vic, you played. Actually, do you know what? Do you want to give the story about Tommy Smith and the late bidding war?
Yeah. So yeah, there was the charity auction, wasn't there, before last year's competition, and Tommy Smith was one of the players who you could bid for, and it went right down to the wire. I kept a space in our squad because I knew we needed something extra because we disgraced ourselves the year before. I went in early with quite a big bid, which perhaps in hindsight wasn't a great tactic because our rivals did sort of drive the price up. But then literally with seconds to go, we secured Tommy Smith, which obviously, all for a good cause. So it was a pleasure. And he was brilliant. He was so good with us on the day. He was absolutely class, really helped us. And we had a fantastic day. So anyone watching here who is thinking about getting involved, I couldn't recommend it enough. Like, playing at the Vic was just so much fun. It was just a great day. Everyone who was involved was just such a good sport, and you guys did a brilliant job organising it. I'm sure there was some stress behind the scenes in the build-up, but it was great fun. So yeah, it'll be good. It'll be good again this year, and 48 teams as well. There we go. Where's Infantino? Get him down.
Sam just morphed into Giovanni Infantino. I mean, look, what I was going to say as well. Huge shout out to Giancarlo and the guys at the Trust as well. A lot of work behind the scenes to make it happen this year, obviously with more teams as well. Sam, what's one thing you want to see at the next Mental Health World Cup for people who are thinking about coming along? I want to see Mike Parkin play. He's had 3 mentions already. Mike, if you want to, I want to see you playing.
I think the last time Mike would have played on the pitch at the Vic, Jacob, you might have been playing, was just before the FA Cup final, and was it Tommy Mooney went round him and he did his Achilles or something like that?
Yeah,
Achilles. Great effort though. Great.
Not kicked a ball since, I don't think.
Mike Parkin's return. I mean, last year we got so lucky with the weather. The weather was absolutely fantastic on the day, which definitely helps with the occasion. But yeah, I mean, I'd love to see more Watford legends down there as well. I think they definitely helped to elevate the day. Obviously, our winners were at the time sort of the academy staff and some of Tom Cleverley's backroom staff. Went on to win the competition. Lloyd Doyley, Matty Bevs. So whoever's still at the club in come May, I'm looking forward to seeing them line up as well. But also, I think it's good to mention that there are also sponsorship packages available where you can enter a team through sponsoring the event as well, and you get some extra perks with that as well, including free tickets for your friends and family to come and watch. I think you get you get an area in the Vicarage Road changing room as well, so you get to change and get ready beforehand in either the home or the away dressing room, depending on your package. And yeah, it's a good way to support really important local charities who are doing fantastic things to fight suicide.
Absolutely. 9th of May 2026 this year, obviously. So the link is in the description below if you want to get involved. As I said, 16 teams spots available to sign up for the Men's World Cup at Vicarage Road. On to yesterday, a bit more of a more downbeat note, Dave. I mean, look, Bristol City 5, Watford 1. We mentioned sort of the bigger picture that Watford are at the FA Cup and our record in the FA Cup isn't great. For us, though, this season, Dave, I think my biggest concern with yesterday is it feels like a combination of Elaine going, the whole postponement, and now this feels like that good momentum we've built under Javi in recent weeks has kind of just been sapped out of us. What do you make of it? And also, is that a little bit over the top in terms of, am I just being a bit emotional after the last week we've had or so?
I know exactly how you feel, because what we don't want is to have this little period be the period that we look back on at the end of the season and go, that's where it all changed. Do you remember before that FA Cup game, before that Hull game that got postponed, it was all looking so good, and then Elaine went back, and then, this momentum stopped, and then we had a bad transfer window and it all fell apart. And there's no reason to suggest that will be the case. But I get the feeling. I understand how you feel, because I've been thinking the same things as well. And to be honest, though, yesterday, 8 changes, which I think tells you something. Javi will say the right things and the players will say the right things, but really, I don't think any of them are completely gutted to not be in the FA Cup anymore. Like, the focus should be and is squarely on the league. And we are still one of the form teams in the division, despite the fact that we didn't play the weekend before. We're still in great form. When we get, Chak Fatadze, he's had a couple of weeks off. He came back and he was looking really good. Now he's had a chance to rest, and there's lots of positives for us still to focus on. And even yesterday, despite the fact that it fell apart and we capitulated a little bit towards the end, if we score early on, if Semedo takes either of the two opportunities that he has in the early stages. Like the first one, which was, came to him, which was a sort of a kind of ricocheted into his path, and he should have more composure and finish that. And then a few minutes later, another a nice ball in from Sissoko, and he complete air shot from him, completely misses it. Like if we score early and we get back in the game, maybe it's different. But it got away from us completely. And a couple of those players who got the opportunity to play, like Petrus hasn't played for a while. Yeah, he has moments going forward, but I don't think he's going to be getting in the team anytime soon in the league games by the looks of things. We played a different system. We played a back three. I mean, Abankwah and Petrus early on for that first goal just didn't cover themselves in glory. I'm not a massive fan of the back three system either, so I hope Javi doesn't stick with that in the league. But yeah, I agree with you. Like, we don't want this to be the point where things go sour, but really, they shouldn't do.
Yeah, agreed. I mean, I was just going to get the lineup here. I know Footmob have gone with the 4. It was a back 3. So I'll just zoom in there. 8 changes, as Dave mentioned. Baxter in goal. A back 3 of Abankwah, Kuben, Pollock. Morris at left wing back. Petrus at right wing back. And then you had Loser, Sissoko, Mendy in midfield. And then Iran Kundus sort of playing off Semedo, Sam. I mean, looking at that lineup, obviously, granted a slightly different formation that they've gone with. It was a back 3. Did you agree with Javi making 8 changes? And really what he's saying with that lineup is pretty clear that this is not a priority for him this season. I know in the quotes afterwards, the 3 counties, he sort of mentioned, look, this is a tournament that means a lot to me. Obviously, the history he has with Watford in the competition. But if he really cared about it, he wouldn't have put that lineup out, would he?
Yeah, no, I agree with you. I think what surprised me was I wasn't expecting a mixture of sort of first team regulars and rotation like we saw. I thought he'd either go completely full strength or he'd completely rotate the 11 and we'd see 11 changes and we wouldn't see Pollock, Loser, 2 really important players for us starting. And my gut was before the game that because the whole game got postponed, I thought he'd go full strength actually, just to try and keep that momentum going. I was expecting one change with Egil Selvik coming out and Baxter coming in, but other than that, I thought it would be pretty full strength with Kiram Gore up top. With I mean, Georgie resting him was probably a good idea, but I wouldn't have been surprised if he was playing. Quadro Bar's back now. Kipriano was on the bench. I was expecting it to be stronger than that. But the alternative was, I think, like I say, making complete wholesale changes. I wasn't the biggest fan of it. Of there being a mixture in there of keeping. I didn't really see the plus side of keeping Loser and Pollock in there. Yeah,
you've gone would you have gone stronger then with the team?
I don't. I think based on what happened with Hull, yeah. I think because the whole game got postponed, just for momentum purpose, I would have gone full strength. I think if the whole game was played, I'd have said make 11 changes. My point I was trying to make was I don't really get why it was almost half changed and half kept the same. I almost just think it should have been one or the other. I think it was just needless to play to play Loser yesterday.
He did. I tell you what, Dave, it was interesting his body language when he got taken off at about 60. He didn't look happy, and you kind of think of for 2 reasons as a fan. Is it because he's being taken off, or it almost looked like, why did you play me then for 60 if you're not going to make me see out the game? I don't know. There was anything in that. He didn't look very happy at all. If you put yourself into Javi's shoes when we talk about that lineup, can you understand the thinking?
Well, like, you've got to play the game, right? And we're not Man City. Like we don't have like a ready-made second 11 that can just come in and be as good as our first 11. Like if you make 8 changes, like you're going to expect that lineup to not be as good as the one that we've been playing recently. We've been very settled in the league recently, So yeah, I see what you're saying, Sam, in terms of because that whole game didn't go ahead and maybe there is the temptation to just keep it ticking over. But I think it's hard for us sometimes for us to sort of work out how much that stuff matters. Like this we talk about momentum a lot in football, and sometimes it can be like quite a convenient thing to talk about. But we don't really know. We don't really know if it makes much of a difference or not. And I guess, we'll find out when we play Millwall at the weekend if it does matter. If we come back and we look like the team that played Birmingham, last time out at home, then we'll soon forget about this. But if we come out in that game and we look a bit slow and sluggish and we don't get the 3 points or we lose, yeah, then maybe you can start to question things. But I think yesterday was a classic situation of like get out unscathed, basically, like no injuries, like rest some players if you can. If you win, great. Maybe get a big tie in the next round, and who knows, like obviously it's always good to get money from cup ties, and sometimes you can say that cup runs are good for your league form. If you want to, you can spin it that way and say, oh, it's all good because it's momentum and it's confidence building. But if you want to flip it the other way and say, well, we're focusing on the league, you can kind of twist it any way you want sometimes, really, can't you? Bristol City are a team that are going for the playoffs as well. They're not that far behind us in the league. Maybe they're happy that they've beaten us 5-1 and that their players got a hat trick, like you say. And, they can probably take some confidence from that. But then also come the fourth round, if they get a game that's not that exciting, are they going to be that bothered about it? It's a funny one, really, isn't it? Like the FA Cup has been good, actually. It's been a good FA Cup third round, hasn't it? Been a lot of good stories.
True.
But it can very easily feel like a bit of an inconvenience as well.
To counter that, Dave, is the manner, I know you mentioned about being unscathed, and I completely agree in terms of suspensions, in terms of managing people's minutes, in terms of injuries. Does the manner of the defeat, though, matter in terms of shipping 5 to a playoff contender in inverted commas, despite us rotating? Because I came away with it, particularly you mentioned as well, the back three. That tactical setup raised a few questions for me. I didn't really understand it. I mean, Caben had pretty much had a shocker. Then there's questions about who now partners Pollock with Elaine gone.
Yeah.
Whether it's Caben, whether it's a Banquer. And I don't know, maybe just the manner of the defeat for me yesterday was a slight concern.
Mm-hmm.
What would you say on that front?
Yeah, I think defensively it is a bit of a concern for us because we've looked so settled in recent weeks. Like Elaine and Pollock just look like a really nice partnership. I get the impression that City recalling Elaine as taking the club by surprise a little bit. I don't think they were expecting it. Obviously, it's come about because of the injury to Gvardiol. Any hope that he might have come back at the end of the window seems not that likely now, considering he's played the last 2 games, scored against Exeter, but started in the Premier League in the week, didn't he? And he's his post on social media was very much, thanks lads, it's been great, but good luck for the future. And I think that is the big question mark in terms of the next game out. We know the options we've got going forward. Midfield is midfield. Maybe we could strengthen that area in the window, but defensively, who partners Pollock? And is it a back three or is it a back four? Kevin, has been out of the team because his form dropped off quite spectacularly. Didn't look amazing yesterday. A Banquer did well and he came in at right back in the Birmingham game. But as I said, like between him and Petrus, like that first goal was just like really bad. It's like Sunday League stuff, like not like can't read the flight of the ball between them and just poor old Formos Mendy, our number one target, not getting anywhere near it. So I think the big question mark is like who partners Pollock and what system do we use? And maybe Javi has got a bit of a headache in terms of like he didn't see anything to inspire confidence in terms of those players vying to take Elaine's spot.
Sam, I'll bring you in there on the centre-back situation because, I mean, as Dave said, we can analyse the goals to the cows come home. I mean, the defending on pretty much all of them was dreadful. I mean, the centre-back situation long-term or for the second half of the season is probably the big debate now with Elaine going. I really hope it's not what Dave said at the top of the show where we look back and go, oh, do you remember when Elaine left and we did the whole game and then this and our season was completely derailed. But the foremost Mendy situation sort of really highlights the recruitment issues we've got, Sam. We was brought in on the sort of pretense that he was going to be one of the main players for us this season. Obviously, as we've said, we don't know what's happening behind the scenes. There might be stuff completely out of our control. But ultimately, Pollock is the only player who's a guaranteed starter for us now. So how do we navigate this situation that Javi's got? Or, as someone said, and maybe rightly in the comment section, was Javi sending a message to the board with that lineup going, look, I need help. I need another centre-back with Elaine gone and one with maybe the passing range and ability that Elaine had.
Yeah, I think, again, I'm trying to look at this with rose-tinted glasses, which I think is quite rare for me, but I'm trying to hope here that potentially, I mean, I don't think Javi sent a message to the board deliberately. I don't think he had much choice with playing Abankwah and Caben yesterday. But I am hoping that alarm bells are potentially ringing, seeing the a downgrade's a bit harsh, maybe, but seeing the difference in Elaine to Caben and Abanqua, not only with how good Max Elaine was, but how much better I think he made Matty Pollock next to him as well, and the partnership that they were building. I think a centre half in this window now is just absolutely vital. Someone who can play out, who can help us transition the ball into midfield quicker, like Elaine was doing, firing the ball into Loser and chat for tat, saying getting us forward quickly. I don't think we've got any defenders at the moment who have the skill set to do that. Now that's on the ball, but off the ball as well. I think we've seen good moments from both Caben and Abanqua, but I don't think either of them have been consistent enough at all. Particularly Kevin Caben, I highlight that game last season away at Portsmouth when he got sent off. I don't think that red card was his fault from memory, but it just seems that was the moment. Ever since then, he just hasn't looked the same throughout this season and last season. I just don't think he seemed like the same player, having that confidence as well. Abanqua, I don't think has had a look in this season, potentially as much as he should do. But I think the reality with Abanqua is, and Ngake seems to be out injured again. We can't, while he has been really good this season, Ngake, one of our players of the season, and he has been relatively fit throughout the season, other than the odd game, you can't rest your hat on him. And after Jeremy Patrice's performance yesterday, I think that we're going to see Abanqua a right back quite a few times throughout the season, which now leaves either foremost Mendy, who we don't know anything about, or Caben, who we know is inconsistent, to go next to Matty Pollock. I think we really need to address that centre-back position in the last few weeks of the window.
Is it squad depth as well, Sam? Because Javi's openly come out and admitted that the squad now is weaker than before. And I look at certain areas. I look at left back as an absolute guarantee. We have to bring someone in at left back. I would say probably a central midfielder as well, but a centre back's now key. Bove arguably will be that central midfielder, but again, it is a gamble for a guy who hasn't played in a year, despite the level we know he can play at. So is it actually now a question of actually bringing in depth? Because I mean, even yesterday, you look, he's a rotated team, and I would say the drop off. Maybe harsh, but the drop-off from our first 11 to our second is quite significant.
Yeah, I think you have to be realistic, though, that this is the January transfer window. And I think it was Barami who maybe said it, that this isn't a squad-building window, this is a tweaking window. So I don't think it's a case of we bring in a starting centre-back and a centre-back for depth.
Do you agree with that?
Well, I don't. I think we need to upgrade in quality in that position, but I don't think we do that in January. I think that's one to address in the summer. And yeah, I just think we're going to have to really focus on bringing in someone who can immediately come in next to Pollock and hit the ground running now, rather than addressing someone who could come in if Caben gets injured, for example, because I think we can upgrade on Caben already.
Dave, what did you make of Barami's comments in the week? Because when you look at the championship table, the position we find ourselves in, we're a sixth, we're on 41 points with 21 games to go. We're 5 points off seconds with Borough, who have dropped off, as have Coventry. They've
with
dropped
a game
off.
in hand.
With a game in hand as well. Yeah, absolutely. It's a great opportunity. So surely we've got to look at that January window. And I'm not saying you can fix all the pieces of the jigsaw, but we've got to surely go out there, because we might not get a better go at this for a little while.
Yeah, no, it definitely feels like we've got an opportunity. But then I think there's probably about 8 other teams who would be thinking the same. Like it's a slightly different division this season to the last couple that we've seen, in terms of, there's not 3 teams or 4 teams like there were last season who are absolutely clear. You've got Coventry, but even they have stuttered a little bit. Ipswich have really moved through it, but apart from that, it's really tight. You've seen with us, like a month or so ago, it just didn't feel like we were going to be anywhere near it, really. But all of a sudden, we put a run together, we win 4 on the bounce, we get Chak Fatadze back, and we're like thinking a second place all of a sudden. So it is an opportunity for sure. I think we probably have to temper our expectations as a fan base a little bit, because we know how the club operates. It's unlikely that they're going to go out and spend lots of money, or we're going to sign, a lot of proven championship quality. I think if we do have any incomes, it's likely to be the usual sorts of players. Can we find somebody from Udinese? Can we find somebody from Charleroi? Can we, pick up an opportunistic signing like we seem to be doing with you're calling him Bove, which is interesting. I thought it was Bove, but let's go with Bove.
Because my boss is Italian and he's a Roma fan, and
okay. There we go.
I might have got it wrong.
No, let's take his word for it. Yeah. But like he's a player that, like you say, hasn't played a lot of football. Has had a few issues in terms of his fitness and his health, and he's available when perhaps he otherwise wouldn't have been. But yeah, look, it's not necessarily a fun sort of exciting thing, but we've got Kayembe and Doumbia to come back. They've been out for a few weeks at AFCON, but they're both not involved anymore. They'll come back. I would love to see us. I agree with you, Sam. I'd love to see us like really upgrade if we can get, replace Elaine with another loan. Like, is there another Premier League centre back that we could find that we could get in who isn't around the first team and does need minutes, but they are hard to come by as well. It would be funny if Foremost Mendy does sort of like do a bit of a decore. Do you remember like years ago when he was out the door and we thought, who's this guy? He's probably never going to do anything for us. And then he had a last minute reprieve on deadline day. And then look what happened after that. Like Mendy, the only start he's made this season was away at Millwall, which if anyone was there that night, they'll remember his just baffling performance put out on the right wing. Maybe he comes back in against Millwall in the league and he kicks on, but feels unlikely. But yeah, there are definitely things we need to address for sure. And listening to Barami the other day, I think they are conscious of the fact that we've got a chance, and they're always focusing on promotion. If you take their word for it, in terms of we've seen our team in the last few seasons not look like promotion contenders, and from the board level, they've still talked about us as being a promotion, contending side. That's their aim. So if they are serious about that, then they need to try and really capitalize on the position that we're in.
You've got me reminiscing, Dave. You were a couple of rows in front of me at Millwall away, and I think, Sam, when we sort of rank bizarre performances in Watford history, that one was right up there. From team selection to Petzolano coming over and clapping the fans, and the fans weren't really clapping him back, and it was just wasn't the one really. Sam, I mean, do we want to go through any of the goals?
I mean, they were all just pretty similar. I mean,
what was the worst of the lot? Actually, what was the worst goal out of the lot? Out of the five, I think the Baxter one is a shocker.
Yeah, the Baxter one's really poor. The first one, I was fuming with. I say fuming to an extent. It was the FA Cup. I'd be a lot more annoyed if it was the league. But
it's magic. It's magic.
Yeah, the magic of the FA Cup. It even calms me down watching football. But yeah, the first one was so poor. I think on so many levels. I haven't watched the highlights back, but from memory, it was Petrie failing to get the cross in. I mean, the body language was so poor. Caben and the bank were just failing to challenge anything in at the back, and yeah, it was just such an easy header for Emil Rees. But I just feel like the word for every goal to save our time in the analysis was just soft, so soft. Every single goal, from the goalkeeper to the defenders, yeah, just really poor. I mean, I wanted to talk about positive from yesterday before we go on to Bove. Was I thought Nestoria and Kunda was again a lot more back to himself, playing with confidence again. We're seeing again what a talented player he is. I think it's easy to, and I've spoken about this quite a lot with some of our players this season, particularly Kyprianou, how in a way he was a victim of his own success. I think when he scored those 2 free kicks so early in the season, I think everyone had these huge expectations for him, which I think started to actually impact his own performances as well. I think his expectations for himself went up as well, which isn't necessarily a bad thing, but I think we need to realise that he's a young player. He's learning. He's still growing physically as well. He's just come to a new country from the other side of the world. He's just gone through, I think, a bit of a personal situation as well, which is why he went back to Australia. We need to be a bit patient with Iran Kunda, and the fact that he's come back in and had a really good 3 or 4 games now on the trot, the impact against Norwich, the sub performance against Birmingham, and now yesterday. Yeah, I think it was a real positive.
Yeah, and another one was obviously Jack Greaves coming on and get his first senior goal. Really lovely finish, actually. And one of my mates made a really good point as well about how many of our players would finish like that. Outside of Krumgor, to sort of take that step just before he strokes it home. It's a really composed finish, that. Especially when it's bobbling. I mean, I've shagged a few of them in my time, but I'm not a professional footballer. But ultimately, it's the way he sort of lets it come across his body. It's a lovely finish. First senior goal for Jack Greaves, which was great. I agree about Iran Kunda. Dave, any more positives bar the lack of injuries?
Yeah, you lads need to put your money where your mouth is, right? You've got to get a team for the Mental Health World Cup. Come on, you can't just be walking around all day with a microphone. You got to get your boots on, lads.
And a clipboard, by the
way. Yeah, but yeah, it was nice of him to score. It's always a good moment when when academy products come through, and we know his family history with the club as well. It was a great moment for him and his family and all that stuff. I just hope that it's not like not a sort of footnote and a sort of trivia question in years to come. you know, like who scored that goal in that season, you know, and he sort of disappeared or whatever. Like, hopefully he can actually progress with his career. Obviously, he's been injured a little bit this season, isn't he, in terms of being able to be involved with the team and with the squad. Don't know how much we'll see of him for the rest of the season, but clearly there's some talent there. So it'd be nice to see him involved. And yeah, in a bad day, at least there was a positive to take from it. And yeah, you're right, Sam, as well. Iran Kunda, the last few weeks has been really encouraging. I completely agree. Like, we've got to remember this guy's, I mean, he's just about to turn 20, I think, next month. You know, this is a young player who has come to us with some fanfare, signing from Bayern Munich, you know, Australian international, scores those free kicks, goes away on international duty, scores a good goal for Australia. We're all getting excited about him all of a sudden. But what I think is really good in the last few weeks is that we've sort of seen him perhaps starting to mature a little bit. Maybe he's taking on board some of the advice and the coaching that he's getting from Heavy and the other coaches at the club. Like, he seems to be making better decisions. He's not just getting the ball and dribbling with it every single time. He's still got that ability to do it. And when he gets it out of his feet and he runs past players, he's really hard to deal with. But he's not just, you know, shooting on sight. He's passing. He got a lovely assist in the Birmingham game. Good one the week before against Norwich. Like, he's a great, you know, he's a very promising young player, and with young players there's always going to be a sort of baked in level of inconsistency, so it's no surprise that we've seen a bit of, you know, up and down from him this season. But again, if we're going to challenge this season, like, he's a real asset to have, and I'm sure he wants to start every game, obviously, and there will be times when he will start, but having him and Barr, if they are going to be out of the first choice 11, let's say, for the foreseeable future, amazing substitutes to have when you're, you know, when teams are tired and you bring those two off the bench. Like, it's a real asset for us.
Yeah, especially against tired legs. I think we saw that in the last few games. When he came on, who did he come on against at half time?
I'll tell you the Norwich game, and he just absolutely skinned their fullback.
The Norwich game, there's one at the Vic as well when he came on at half time, and he absolutely destroyed some tired legs. And I remember just thinking, Christ, there's a guy who can drive us up the pitch and relieve a bit of pressure. Yeah, I mean, I don't really know. Is there anything else, lads, you wanted to mention? I've looked through the comments because I think some people had some different perspectives on this one. Someone said, didn't Semedo miss? The ball shouldn't have been at Greaves' feet, which is interesting one. Jim says Iran Kunda was trying a little bit too hard, Sam, at times.
He's got that in him, hasn't he? A little bit.
Yeah. That's what I meant before, I think, when I said that I think because of how well he did at the start of the season, when things weren't quite going so well for him, I think he tried it on even more, which isn't a bad trait in a player at all. It's just about, again, trying to learn how to use that and how to use that energy and to almost prove yourself in a positive way rather than overdoing it. But I mean, I disagree. I don't think yesterday it was a case he was trying too hard. I thought he was brilliant for us.
The game was Birmingham. I couldn't remember. I reckon that came on. There was a really interesting comment from Mark. To solve this Elaine situation, could we play Hector Cipriano at centre-back versus Millwall? Played there at Leyton Orient, played there at Peterborough. Sam, go on, Dave. I wouldn't say no. I would not say no to that.
He played at centre-back. Was it in the League Cup game against Norwich?
Yeah.
Was that the game this season? And it wasn't a good night all round for us.
Lane, actually. I think it was.
Yeah. I wouldn't be by preference. I'm not saying that he couldn't work, perhaps, but he is a central midfielder ultimately. I think that's his favourite position. It wouldn't speak much for those other centre backs, would it? If you're putting a midfielder in instead of them.
Dave, I could offer you, though, Craig Dawson for a second time. He's a free agent. Any takers?
Run it back.
Look, whisper it quietly again. Craig Dawson, the Championship, would not say no.
Oh, I don't know. I mean, we're having nightmares. That's where it all went wrong for him last time, wasn't it? Signing him after the FA Cup final.
It was against Leicester, I think, our first game back after lockdown. He scored the overhead kick in the last minute. I think that might have been like, I mean, I haven't watched the Premier League years back from that episode since, because we got relegated. I don't want to watch it back. But I think those 2 goals were scored in that game that were probably the 2 best goals from lockdown was the Craig Dawson overhead kick, and Ben Chilwell scored an absolute banger for them as well. I mean, before Danny Welbeck then went on to score an overhead kick for us the week after as well. But yeah, wow.
Sam, do you reckon if I named you like any date, you could give me a Watford related fact around?
I think I'd back myself, like maybe less so since we've been back in the Championship. But I reckon if you gave me a game, like particularly in the Premier League gears, just gave me the game and the day, I could tell you the score and the goal scorers for Watford.
Right. Someone in the comment section, give us an example. We're going to put at the end of the show. Couple more comments. Thanks so much to everyone who's watching live on this Sunday evening. Some really, really good numbers. Apologies for the language, but good comment. I'm going to be very nervous now the coming game after that shit show, after feeling very confident the last matches. Really, really hope it's only me. Robbie says, surely we need an experienced centre-back over Bove in the window. There was another one. Mark, why has Chatford Datsy been completely rested for the last 2 games after looking so good? Is a good comment. Looking on the right side. Sorry, go on, Sam.
No, I think that's exactly why. Just wrap him up in cotton wool. There's no point in. I don't think. I mean, against Hull, yeah, it was at the end of a really intense period of games where he was playing really well, and in the cup, I don't think there was a need to risk him. We know how crucial he is for us, and we know how injury prone he is after coming back from such a big injury. I don't think there was a point in risking him.
It's only a positive if we don't win against Millwall, says Ojvito. Against Millwall now, who also lost 5-1 in the cup away at Burnley. If we lose, all momentum and confidence gone. Look, let us know your thoughts on yesterday. It was more a general consensus about where this leaves us this season, rather than breaking down the game in because that wouldn't have been enjoyable. 36 minutes or so just talking about that. What we should do though, and it sort of segues on from our chat about what players we need. I think it's Edoardo Bove. I'm not Italian, but that's how I've been told it's pronounced. Anyway, my manager at work, Alessandro Romiti, who is a Roma fan, he watches a lot of Serie A, watches a lot of football, but he watched a lot of Serie A. I have got him. He wasn't forced to. He wanted to send in a video, sort of giving us the breakdown on Edoardo Bove, and hopefully give you guys a little bit of an insight into what sort of player we're getting. So here he is, and it's about 4 minutes. So enjoy.
Ciao Jakey, ciao Charlie, ciao Sam, ciao WD18. Alessandro here. I'm so happy to do this walk and talk this morning to welcome back on the pitch Edoardo Bove. We are waiting for the famous "Here we go," and then hopefully he's gonna join you at the vicarage. Before talking about him as a player, let me take a moment to share some stories, some facts about him as a person. Edoardo Bove, not your average football player. Economic studies in one of the best universities in Italy. Fluent in English, fluent in German, really important when you have to play abroad and experience a new culture. Really close friend with Riccardo Calafiori. They grew up together in Rome Academy, and best friend with Flavio Cobolli, number 22 of ATP ranking. He loves the fashion, he loves the music, he loves London, so it seems like the perfect destination. It has been a complicated year after the cardiac arrest in 2024, but he was proactive. He worked with the Italian Parliament to present a law, the Legge Bove's law, to improve the quality of first aid in Italy. He bought back the training ground when he started playing football at Boreale, his childhood club, and he worked to create a partnership with Fiorentina. In December, he went back there with Paulo Dybala to have an awareness session on first aid. So I think it's important to explain you the mindset. And probably some of you are asking why he decided to come back and he decided to go Watford, despite having some offer for Premier League teams and La Liga teams, because he's clever. He's clever, he wants to understand what's his level right now. Of course, without the accident, we wouldn't be talking about this opportunity. It'd be part of Roma Gasperini, that was the level, I think. And it'd be fighting, it'd be in conversation to be part of Italy's team. That's the level of the player. Of course, now it's a new chapter, it's a new life. He needs to understand where he is, and he saw, for example, what happens with Nicolo Zaniolo at Udinese. Zaniolo struggled to find himself previously, and now he's getting back thanks to the Pozzo environment. He saw that he has a relationship with Zaniolo, and he decided to start from Watford because he's a team, he's a club, guys. You're fighting to enter the playoff, and he knows if I do well next year, I can be in Premier League and he can improve. What we need to expect as a player, he loves running. He's got a great pace, he loves running, he loves scanning the pitch and finding channels and running into the space. Third man run, he can improve, of course, offensively, but he had also some goal in his season with Roma. He loves whipping the ball, and we saw also with Roma some great goal. Quality of the player is not me telling you, it was Jose Mourinho. Edoardo Bove, when he was 20, led Roma into a Europa League final. By scoring the only goals in the tie against Bayer Leverkusen. After the game, Jose Mourinho said, Edoardo Bove is 20, but he plays football like an experienced 30 years old player. And he's a dog because he's always the first one going to press the opponent. He's always the first one to go and run after the ball. If you ask me for some similarities, probably Valon Berami. Maybe less technique than Valon Berami, but that style of player. Are players who give everything he has on the pitch. So I'm so happy to see him back to football, and I'm so happy for you guys, because if you treat him with care and love, you can really get back a great prospect. So good luck to Edoardo, good luck to you, and hopefully we can go all together soon to watch him at the Vicarage. Ciao.
What a man, Alessandro Romiti. He watches a lot of Roma. He's watched a lot of Edoardo Bove, as we've come to pronounce with the name, Dave. Hearing sort of the inside knowledge and obviously why he's made the move, really interesting about sort of the relationship he has with Calafiori. I think that's something that maybe went under the radar, and the fact that obviously Arsenal and Watford are next to each other. We all know the relationship there. What did you make of Ale's comments, and what was your sort of overriding feeling hearing that?
I think I just saw someone in the comments say I'm sold already, and completely agree. Yeah, Brian there, sounds great. I obviously, as he said there, there's a reason that he's available. Right? He obviously had the heart problem, and it's an opportunity for us. You don't quite know how that's going to affect players going forward, but he sort of ticks all the boxes in terms of a Watford signing, in terms of opportunistic. There's a player with potential who's available for a certain reason. If we can get him in and he proves his fitness and gets a run of form going, we would probably sell him in the next year or two, and he'd go on to a higher level. But it sounds great. Like if he's been at the level of nearly being in the Italy team before, and like making big impacts in European semi-finals, and playing for Roma in Serie A, Jose Mourinho is praising him. Like, get him in. Sounds great.
It feels like a win-win, Sam, really. I mean, when you look at, we're a little bit doom and gloom from my end anyway about sort of the last week or so. But I think from his perspective, we mentioned you're moving to London, which you cannot underestimate about moving to Watford and as an attractive move. You think about the relationship with Calafiori. You think about the way Watford run as a football club is very similar, of course, to an Italian club. A lot of the Udinese players have said that when you move to Watford, the setup is completely the same as it is at Udinese, as it is with Watford in terms of the day-to-day running. So he knows how that will work. He will obviously know Gino, I would assume, very, very well. I guess the question is when you hear what Ale says, you hear what Dave says, and I completely agree with David. It does feel like an opportunistic one for us, but one with a real high ceiling. Do we have to say credit where credit's due to Gino if he gets us over the line?
Yeah, I think so, definitely. It could go either way, this one. But the upside, if it does go well, could be absolutely huge. And we could have a genuine top-class European international quality player at Vicarage Road, which would be absolutely fantastic. Credit to Gino where it's due. I think I've actually seen some of the reaction to this with some fans not, I mean, outside of Watford, can't believe that we seem to be this close to getting the deal done. And I've seen some people comparing it to Sunderland last season when they signed Enzo Lefebvre in January, and some people going, how on earth did they get that deal done in the Championship? And obviously Lefebvre was absolutely crucial in getting them promoted last season as well. So yeah, a similar vibe to that. It could go either way, but if it does go well, it could go absolutely brilliantly for us.
And you think about the talent we have now: Marma, Loser, Chakfadadze, Vata when he's back fit, Bar, Edoardo Bove as well. Interesting, obviously. The reason he obviously can't play there is due to the rules in Syria after his medical situation. Ian likened it obviously with Christian Eriksen, who came back and was obviously brilliant for Brentford for a season under Thomas Frank, and then went on as well to Manchester United. I guess the question is, Dave, is where do you think he'll play, and how do we manage this? Obviously, if it all does go through, when you look at the sort of 4-2-3-1 Javi's sort of leaning on now, I know we played 3 at the back yesterday, but he's leaning on that formation. You look at the midfielders we currently have, where would you see him? Because judging from what Ale's saying and what I'm reading, he sounds like a traditional 8, really.
Yeah, it's interesting in terms of what would the balance be. You know, it sounds like he, as a general player, a massive upgrade on Kyprianou if he was going to play alongside Loser. But then if maybe, you know, it'd be good if there's some sort of versatility to him that he could kind of play a bit deeper, or if we need him to sort of deputise for Loser or you know, play a bit further forward, whatever, he can do that as well. But I guess sounds like that would be the way to go, like him and Loser in the 2 in midfield, with Chakfadadze sort of floating around in the number 10 and two wide players. Or do you put Chakfadadze out wide and try and do something like that, you know, reshuffle the middle of the pitch? I'm not sure, but Chakfadadze's looked so good when he's been in that role recently that I think you want to prioritise getting him in his best position rather than sort of sticking him rigidly out wide. All good problems for coaches to have, I guess. Like, getting a really good quality player in is going to help. And it's funny, when you reel off those lists of names there of exciting young players, Marma has been such a real boost for us this season. We don't think anyone really expected him to be involved. I don't think the club, from the sounds of it, expected him to be involved to the level that he has done. But having that under-20 World Cup and then coming back and scoring goals and just hitting the ground running, we've got a lot of exciting young players. And as we've discussed, there are a few areas where we lack, some exciting options. But, you know, that's the way it is. That's why we are where we are. But there's a lot for us to be excited about, I think.
Sam's nodding off there. I just clocked that.
No. It's been
that yawn come through. If we keep you up, mate, more than happy to call it there.
No. It's it's the thought of our centre back options next to Matty Pollock, I think.
I mean, I think we'll end it on a positive note. Watford are in a really strong position in the league.
It's a massive game on Saturday.
Yeah.
And this is what I was sort of leaning into, David. I mean, really strong position in the league. Bove is an exciting player to come in. I do believe that Watford will recognise the opportunity they have and bring in players, whether they are the right players, but they will bring in players that are needed. But we have to respond, don't we, against Millwall? I mean, this is a bit of a football cliche for me, Dave, but, you know, I think of early kickoffs at the Vic. I mean, just always terrible. I mean, it's always got that feeling of, can we get going? Can we really get into this, both as fans? I think also players as well. We notoriously don't start games quickly.
Yeah.
Am I going OTT there? I just always have a bad feeling the first 15 minutes in those games. Millwall at home, they've been pretty poor. They've got injuries.
It's a pint in the railway at 11 a.m, which just never quite hits the way you want it to. But we've got a good record at home. You know, we're really strong at home this season, and even in lots of matches where we've conceded first, you know, we've come back and we've got points from losing positions. So no need to panic. Even if we were to concede early or whatever, we can beat Millwall. We should beat Millwall. They're a good team. They've had some good results against us in the last few seasons. They always seem to be in the mix for the playoffs, you know, despite never quite being able to do enough to properly get up there or get to a final. But so it won't be easy. But yeah, we need a good performance. We need a good result. We want to Bristol City game behind us, and we want to kick on. We got a game a few days later against Portsmouth at home, and we play Blackburn away. So like a real chance to extend our run. You know, we had that whole game disrupted things, but maybe it was a blessing in some ways. I know Hull had a lot of injuries, but Chakvetadze wasn't going to play that game. He didn't travel. Sissoko was going to start. Maybe we would have lost that game, and who knows? Like, we're still the form team in the league if you look at our form over the last 10 games or whatever it is. So we've got a chance to put a proper run together. And if you are going to get second, let's say, if you're going to get promoted and you're really serious about trying to be automatically promoted, which might be a stretch too far for us, but if you are, you have to be a team that goes on a proper run of, like, you know, winning 5, 6, 7, 8 games in a row, or you know, not losing, you know, losing 1 in 12 or whatever it might be. If we're going to sort of regress a little bit and just be in the mix for 6th place, then yeah, you know, we'll be probably a little bit more inconsistent. But it's a big game. It's a really big game. But what our recent form does give us, it's like, if we do lose and the worst happens, like, we don't need to come on here afterwards and go, the season's over, which I'm prone to do. I
was going to say, Dave, is that aimed at anyone there?
I've got a lot of time for that, Dave. I've got a lot of time for that.
We all do it. Like, Sam, look, you know, you've done it. Jacob, you've done it. Like, after the Preston game, when we drew 1-1, I was furious in the pub afterwards, saying we're not a serious team. We're a bunch of clowns. We're never going to get out of this league. But we turned it around, and Javi's bedded in and found the formation that he likes and found a balance. And, you know, if we do lose, we're still in the mix. So, you know, let's not completely lose our heads if it doesn't go our way. But it's a big game. We want to win. And if we win, we're right in the hunt.
People are already saying, they're already putting their predictions in, Sam, and their bets that Sam definitely will do that if that is the weekend. Sam, look, when we look at, I think Dave's hit the nail on the head there. When we look at sort of I think, you know, take away Saturday, it's more the next week, isn't it? You know, Millwall at home, Portsmouth at home. What an opportunity to get points on the board there. Then Blackburn away, which I'm going to actually, first time to Blackburn. And then Swansea at home. I mean, this January, Sam, when you look at those next 4, Millwall, Portsmouth both at home, Blackburn away, and then Swansea at home, 3 games at the Vic. How many points are we targeting, especially with our home record being one of the best in the division? Well, the best in the division, is it?
I think after Cov.
Sorry, yeah, Ipswich. Well, we've got the same as Ipswich. So Coventry, the only team with a better home record this season, 1.29. We've got 28. In the last 8 games, we are the joint informed team with Ipswich.
Yeah, I think in the Championship, if you're getting good returns at home and then picking up points away, I think you're fine. I think 4 of our next 6 are at home, and we'd fancy ourselves in those home games with how we've been playing and the form that we're in the league. I agree with you, Jacob. I think 12-30, we never seem to get going. Millwall at home, we never seem to get going. And yeah, I don't want to seem all doom and gloom, but with the last week as well, I just don't have the best feeling about that Millwall game on Saturday.
Sam, how do we navigate that? How do we stop these sort of like flat, sort of placid first 15, 20 minutes? I mean, I'm just sort of thinking about games that we've had before where it's just failing to spark into life early on. Is it the early kickoff? Is it the atmosphere? Is it nerves? I don't know. Are people waking up?
Yeah, I don't think it's just a Watford issue. I think it's an issue with a lot of teams, the early kickoff. But it's just about being aggressive. We know what Millwall are going to be like in terms of them being really aggressive. We saw it in the first game. All they needed was a set piece. I think it was I can't remember who scored the free kick for that in the first game.
It
was a really
probably.
Yeah, the weakest free kick. I think did Selvig end up getting injured? I think he might have like clipped his shoulder on the bar or something when he tried to save it.
He headbutted the
concussion? Yeah. So yeah, it's just a bad day. We know what we're going to get from Millwall, and I think it's just going to be a case of a fast start. I don't want to sound arrogant at all here, but we probably do have a better 11 than Millwall. Jacob, you've watched more of them this season, at least doing commentary on them. So I'm not sure what insight you have, but I think at least we've got a better team on paper than Millwall, and it's just going to be a case of if we turn up, then we've got a really good chance of winning the game. I just worry that physically we might struggle.
Yeah, Millwall, interesting one. I mean, they've got a real good championship operating in Alex Neil, you know, someone who's been there, done it. He's obviously taken Norwich up through the playoffs. They have got a good chance. And what they've done well actually recently, Millwall, is they've stayed in the playoff picture despite having a ridiculous amount of injuries. I think they were one of the worst hit teams. At one point, I think they had 10 injuries to their name. And they're still in that conversation. They're going to be direct. They're going to be physical. Set pieces are going to be a big factor as well. Particularly offensively for them, they'll be targeting that as well. I watched them most recently, New Year's Day against Southampton. Dreadful football match, absolutely horrific. But what they were good at was was crosses from wide areas, and any chance they have an opportunity to get a ball into the box, they will do that. So, going to have a big performance from our two fullbacks. I think that's probably why I would lean towards Ngakia starting. I'd go back to Bowler. I'd go back to that team we've been used to, right? Dave, is there any changes you'd make in terms of the Watford 11? Obviously, it won't be anything near what we saw yesterday, but is there any players that you think you would give them a start over the conventional 11 we've seen recently?
No, hopefully it's, with the exception of Elaine, we go back to that team that played so well against Birmingham. That would mean Ince coming in. Maybe Aaron Kunda starts instead of him. But hopefully, I think the big thing for me is hopefully we see Ngakia back at right back. We see Chakvatadze fit and back in the team. And we hope that whoever plays next to Pollock, and I hope it's a back four, whether it's Keben, whether it's a Banquet, or God forbid, whether it's Mendy, that they come in and they slot in, hopefully. But I think I would pick a Banquet. If I was heavy, if I had to choose, choosing one of the three, pick him and hopefully that he can slot in and we kick on.
Agreed. I remember we played Mill last season, didn't we? That was one of the most frustrating ones when we were 1-0 up and then we lost 2-1. I think at Banco had a quite poor game that day. But I do agree, Sam. When you look at the centre-back situation, we're not going to get a centre-back in before then. You look at the options we have, Mendy, Keben, a Banquet. I agree with Dave. I think a Banquet was the one to partner Pollock, just based on the amount of time they played together as well.
Yeah, I mean, I mentioned it earlier, but it does seem I think Ngakia will be out next week. Again, I'm not sure how long he said. I don't know if he said he'll be back for next week, but I don't think based on what we've seen with the way he's been using Chakvatadze and Bar, I don't think he'd rush him back. So I think likely we're going to see a Banquet right back with Kevin Keben next to Matty Pollock at centre back. I think that's the most likely one that we'll see, which worries me, fills me with fear. But got a week to go, so hopefully someone comes in.
We shall see. We'll leave it there. Dave, thanks so much for your time on this Sunday evening. I was trying to think the last stream you were on, mate, with us.
A little while ago. This is my first one this season, I think, isn't it? Yeah.
Yeah, nice.
Wow.
Enjoyed it?
Yeah, of course. Always.
Therapeutic?
Yeah. All good.
Always. Sam, any final thoughts? Any reminders? Mental Health World Cup, obviously.
Yeah, Mental Health World Cup. Provisionally, of course, depending on Watford's playoff campaign. A frustrating day yesterday, but Watford did manage to score one goal, which adds to our tally for £1 for every goal that Watford score this season for Hertfordshire Mind. We'll be donating at the end of every month. So, another goal to add to the January tally. And, get involved. They'll be in the description to find out how.
Absolutely. £1 for every goal Watford score. All donations to Hertfordshire Mind as they will be one of the charities for the Mental Health World Cup as well. Saturday, the 9th of May. This year, 16 teams left. If you want to get involved, a link is in the description below. Thanks so much to Sam, to Dave, to all of you watching on this Sunday evening. Hopefully it was therapeutic after Watford 1, Bristol City 5 at Ashton Gate. We will be back on, this time next week to talk about hopefully a Watford win against Millwall in the early kickoff. We shall see. Take care. Have a great week, guys. And up the audits. You odds.